How's everyone doing today? This is Rich here on behalf of Rich TV Live with our very special guest. It is Kiran Sidhu, long-time guest here on Rich TV Live. How are you doing today, Kiran?
I'm doing well, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for joining us again here today. I know that you had a very exciting trip and you got a
Right.
chance to meet some very influential, very powerful people in Africa. Why don't we start? I don't know if you want to start with that or you want to start with your breaking news. I'm going to give you the floor. What do you think? What do you think is the most
We
important thing
can,
to talk about?
in sequence, we can start with Africa and then proceed to the breaking news.
Sure, let's go.
Okay. So, Africa, Lesotho was the first African country to put together a medical cannabis export regime. And as you know, there are quite a few licenses there, but there are only 4 or 5 implemented. Ours, I think, in terms of cultivation, is the largest. And we went over there to see how things are going. And it's like a really large construction site. So our initial, we have about 1,000 plants that have taken quite well to the local conditions. And there, we have to pop from seeds. You can't import clones, so you have to build your genetic bank there, carefully and prudently, and it takes time. And the genetics are taken really, really well. We're really happy with what we've seen. We got a substantial amount of mothers, going right now. And, we couldn't be happier from what I call progress standpoint in terms of water, in terms of electricity, in terms of leveling of land, in terms of quality. Now the quality of soil is good. So everything is what we, better than we expected. So that's good, knock on wood. And then in terms of government support, I mean, there's a lot of support. This is the first time I have ever met with a proper king and a queen, but the team sat down with the king and the queen of Lesotho. It's a constitutional monarchy. And he himself is a farmer, so he said that he would be coming down in December to the village to see what we're doing. He's really intrigued by it. A lot of what we're doing is sort of, what I call progressive and eco-friendly, subject to GACP, or Good Agricultural Current Practice, from Malta and Europe. But for instance, we're taking water out of the aquifers and we're putting it into trout ponds, right? So we're letting the trout themselves sort of clean the water and balance the pH and the alkalinity. Stuff like that we're doing that's really sort of progressive and cool that our guys have thought through. And, he wants to see it all in action, and it's growing. I'm really comfortable with it. I still think that we'll have our first crop by May. And we also, when I was there, I looked at some sites, and one site in particular for massive drying capacity and for oil capacity. But again, we want to, crawl before we walk before we run. So we're going to start by exporting, flour and biomass for extraction to Europe, Australia, and Israel, as opposed to exporting oil. And I think oil would probably kick in by 2021. In 2020, it'll be primarily biomass.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. And I've seen you've been really, really active on social media, and I think that that's really helping. I mean, we got lots of people watching right now. We got 60 people watching. More and more people want to talk about Halo Labs. Like, this is becoming, one of the companies that everyone's talking about. And I think you need to continue to do that, Kiran, because it's helping like a lot. Like, literally everywhere I go now, I keep hearing Halo Labs. And that's a big part of this, right? Getting your name out there, letting people know that you're a huge extraction play. And obviously extraction, I truly believe 2019 has quietly been the year of the extraction company. I mean, a lot of people talk about how cannabis companies have had a tough year, but some of the most successful companies this year have been extraction companies like MetaPharm Labs, Valens Grow Works, and quietly, you guys have been just moving along, doing big deals, and you just keep putting out deals and keep putting together partnerships. And I love what you're doing, Kiran. This is fantastic, and I'm excited to see you guys grow. So let's get into the news. I see this news
Good,
is
cool.
this news is circulating everywhere. So let's get right into
Right.
it.
So yeah, so Mendocino Distribution and Transportation is a distributor up in Mendocino. And besides being a distributor and having a full distribution license with the trucks and everything, they also have an upstairs facility where they have what's known as a Type N license, which is an infusion license, which now allows us to bring our edibles in very cost effectively.
Great.
We have a really good edibles line in Oregon. It's a value line. We have a scissor style product, and we have a very powerful gummy type product. We keep it very simple, and it works very very well. And so we're bringing that to California. And on top of it, that provides us with light assembly up in Northern California. So that way, white label clients that are in Northern California, we can provide them with product. Also, if we have local dispensaries in the north, like say in Redding, Northern Sacramento, and Northern California, we don't really have to, we can directly supply those guys as well. So it gives us a stronger base in Northern California. And most importantly, it puts us in the Emerald Triangle. Flocana's maybe I think a couple miles away. Leaf, who we do some work with, is about 10 miles away as well. So it puts us up there where all the biomass is, and that gives us a good foothold up there, along with our investment in UVI, Ukiah Ventures. It gives us a nice foundation where you have to be, in California, which is Northern California, the Emerald Triangle. And it was a very, what I call, accretive investment. $4.5 million in stock. They have really solid sales, and that business is growing, and so we're really excited by it. And it's part of that whole strategy of trying to find accretive investments in tough times.
So this is an acquisition that you guys acquired with stock that will be a
Yeah.
revenue generating asset that you can put on your balance sheet?
Yeah, definitely. It's a revenue generating asset today, and it puts us also, like we're doing now in Oregon, in the flower game. So we're going to try to get into that flower game, that pre-roll game, as well, to the extent we need to round out our product offerings.
This is fantastic, Kiran. I love it. Now, how does this get you closer to profitability? This has been the big thing in the cannabis sector and the CBD sector and the hemp sector and the extraction sector, getting to the path to profitability. Everybody wants to see profitability. A great example is a company like Tilt. Tilt
Right.
was trading very high, went down due to the fact that they were having a lot of issues as far as financially, like we've been talking about. The market has been very difficult. There's been it's been a tightening up of funding for cannabis related companies, and Tilt just recently reported profitability, positive EBITDA, and the stock has literally run up from 23 cents to 61 cents. And this is what I've been trying to explain to people. I'm like, yeah, they're down, but as violently as these stocks have come down, they can very violently go up as soon as they start showing some progress and some profitability. Right. And we've seen now Tilt jump up like 150%. A lot of people a month ago were calling them trash. Now all of a sudden everyone's calling them treasure. That's how quickly things can change in this sector. Like literally, one man's trash is another man's treasure. We've seen the same thing with Halo Labs over the last few weeks. You guys were very heavily oversold. I felt that you were undervalued, underappreciated, underexposed, and we've seen Halo jump up quite a bit over the last few weeks as well. So congratulations on that. Congratulations on all of your success. Congratulations on all of your new partnerships and relationships with, Africa and all these new companies that you're working with. The $1 million question that everybody wants to know is Halo getting closer to that path to profitability? I think with a deal like this, it shows that you guys are moving in the right direction.
Right. So we at Halo Labs have a different metric, and that is cash flow and cash burn. Right now, funding is extremely tight. And what I keep saying is that I want to end every month, if I can, with more cash in the bank and not eroding our working capital. So right now, it's 2007 in the cannabis world. You can't get any money right now, so you gotta build cash, and that's what's really really critical with us right now, is making sure we have the cash and we survive the other end of this. So profitability is an important function of cash, but cash burn is everything right now. And so that's what we're focused on. And, I would hope that by Q2, especially with the harvests coming down in Africa, that we'll be in that sort of what I call positive cash flow position.
Great.
But, just to be very candid, Tilt, the Jupiter business is a device business for them. So they're not 280E, they don't have the 280E IRS issue. But really, to get that sort of what I call after-tax profitability with 280E is more difficult than getting what I call positive cash at this point, especially for us plant-touching guys. So, I mean, it's really, in our mind, about cash more than it is about profit at this point. And it's about then figuring out, as we're doing with MDT, hopefully we'll have some other, acquisitions. We're really close to the signing of Buffalo. Man, that's taken a while. I mean, as far as I know, we're the first U.S.-based company to actually, acquire a fully operating medicinal cannabis exporter in Africa. And that's taken a lot of tax structuring, right? The tax structuring there has been quite sophisticated because it's really trailblazing. And so, so I mean, we're really focused on that. What's interesting is you never brought up the word revenue, which is interesting because you're not hearing that as much. Where people have always been focused on revenue growth. Now people are focused on cash flow, EBITDA. And that's where we're at. So it's all about quality revenue. It's all about, quality assets that will, that'll be accretive in the long term to investors, right? And I don't know, I would, in my mind, when I look at it, I haven't seen, and I don't know of a larger sort of project than what we're taking on in Lesotho. I just haven't seen it. Some people have shown me some stuff that's happening in Santa Barbara, and Santa Barbara in its entirety is much larger, but it's a huge county. People showed me some stuff that happened up in British Columbia with Emerald and Canopy down there in the Delta, but those are, relatively smaller than what we're talking about just in the first phase of Buffalo.
I have a question from the audience. Are you guys planning on going all the way with this company, or are you looking to potentially be an acquisition target?
Right now, we're much more looking to acquire than be a target. We have been approached as a target, but right now, I think what we need to do is build up basically build up a stronger asset base in California. We have to get that California engine rolling, firing on all cylinders. And then I think that once we get a first harvest down and actually export it into Europe from Africa, I mean, that's groundbreaking, right?
Yeah.
And we're on track to do that in May. Then we're talking about some serious value for our shareholders.
I love it. I love it. So this is still early, guys. And one of the things that I really like, Kiran, is, and it's something a lot of people don't understand. So there's two different, and I know you get it. There's two different businesses. There's the private business and the public business. You are using the public business to acquire your growth, utilizing the shares and using those shares to acquire revenue generating businesses. I absolutely love the model. It's the reason that companies should be public. All companies should create a class of convertible preferred shares just for acquisitions, as far as I'm concerned. That's the only advantage of being public. Otherwise, you might as well stay private. I love the fact that you're using the stock to acquire revenue. This is what separates the companies that become successful in the public sector and the companies that don't. So many companies are still operating their public company like it's a private business. They don't understand that those securities have value and that you can utilize them to go and acquire other smaller private businesses or even bigger private businesses with stock that may want to go public and have an exit strategy. And essentially you're acquiring their revenue, which you can book on your balance sheet. This is genius. This is the way all the big businesses operate. It's how Berkshire Hathaway became a huge conglomerate, acquiring businesses with convertible preferred shares. I love the way you're doing it. It's the model I think everybody should follow. When I go public, that's what I would be doing. I'd be utilizing my very valuable stock to acquire other smaller entities that have revenue. So I'm really, really happy that you're doing that. And I think that's what every single public company should be looking at doing.
I couldn't agree with you more about, and right now is the time to be aggressive. You talk about Berkshire Hathaway. I remember in 2007, when Goldman Sachs was against the rope, the stock was trading at 7 or 8. Berkshire Hathaway came in with a convertible preferred. They came in, boom, and all of a sudden they made 10 times their money.
That's right.
And it's in times like this where things are really stressed. Because of the time change, last night I was reading the MedMen, their last press release, right? The stock's now at 78 cents. And it was a really good press release. In face of having a stock that's down 90%, Adam's there, very proactive, saying, look at all the things I'm doing, right? I'm cutting this, I'm scaling this, I'm doing that. But at the same time, he's saying, look, I'm still going out with the delivery business. I'm still rolling out the dispensaries. And it's part of a vertical integration strategy, which he didn't say, but in California and in Nevada, he's saying, look, we have deep manufacturing facilities. So now we're going to start manufacturing a lot more of our own product in that press release. And it's the same thing with us where we're saying to ourselves, a lot of people are saying, why are you guys even talking about dispensaries or interested in dispensaries? Because dispensaries take us all the way to the consumer if we can find really good ones, again, at attractive prices. And then 30% of the products we put in that dispensary will be ours. Right?
Absolutely.
And with MedMen and others now saying, look, we're going to do 20 to 30% of our own products and really fire up our own manufacturing. This whole concept of vertical integration, especially in California, is critical, given all the competition there. Everyone's in California, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every major MSO, everyone's there. Granted, it's the largest market in the world, but you got to carve out a strategy where you create your own ecosystem there, right? In Oregon, we're already bedded down. So the strategy of going into dispensaries in Oregon doesn't make sense because it'll really piss off our existing 200 to 250 dispensary customers, right?
Yeah.
But in California, it's a little bit more logical to have that as a hedge. So that's something we're trying to focus on too.
Let me ask you a question about the MORE Act. I'm really, really excited about the MORE Act. The vote passed 24-10 at the House level. Obviously, still has to pass the Senate and get the vote and the signature from the president. What do you think? A lot of people are saying there's no chance it passes the Senate. Do you think there's a chance it passes the Senate?
Well, I want to first go back to safe harbor. So I thought safe harbor was questionable, but then I was in San Diego and I was with Rizwan Khan of DNA Genetics, and he's also an owner in Urban Leap. And Riz was telling me that basically that when they were there, he was there for like, I think a week or 2 weeks working with the House and the Senate. He said that they put in some of the, I'm not a politician or a lawyer, but he said they put in certain things into the safe harbor law that the Senate wanted. And so he thinks he's fairly confident that safe harbor, which as a first step is going to pass the Senate, and then Trump will sign it into law. Regarding this piece of legislation, what's interesting is, yeah, you're right. I think the House is pretty much fait accompli or done. With the Senate, it'll be interesting to see what they have to put in to get it past the Senate. But if you remember, like Colorado senators, I think one of the Nevada senators, and a lot of the senators in those 33 states are Republicans.
That's right.
Right? So it's a question of finding that sort of voting mosaic there in order to get it before the president. But my understanding was last year, the president made a deal or gave a verbal assurance to the senators in Colorado that if a bill did come that affirmed states' rights or affirmed marijuana, that he would sign it if it came to his desk, right? Is what I think he told him a year ago. Now maybe he's changed his mind or what have you, but I am cautiously optimistic that that would happen, right? And that was always our dream when we set up in Southern Oregon, because, and I would challenge anyone to say that there's a better place in the United States to set up an oil and concentrate business than Southern Oregon geared towards nationalization, right? In my opinion, it's the best spot. It has, low labor costs, next to we have no city taxes, we have no county taxes. The only state taxes we have is a sales tax on anything we sell within the state. We have a low income tax. We have some of the best cannabis in the world in the Rogue River Valley. We have so much of it that they're scaling back. And we have a beautiful facility there that sits on railroad tracks. And our dream has always been to take barrels of oil and ship them from the back of our facility in Oregon straight out east, right? And so that's always been our sort of dream, and it's coming closer to a reality.
I have a question here from Alberto Ramos. How you doing, Alberto? Are dab tabs still on track to be available in Washington, Massachusetts, Florida, Ohio, Oklahoma by end of 2019?
So speaking to Michael, who's the CEO, I know that I forgot the name of it. I think it's called Meta or whatever, Neta. It's the largest dispensary in Mass. It's arguably the largest dispensary in America. I think they carry dab tabs.
Nice.
I don't know about Oklahoma. Washington, I know that they've been speaking with some big guys like Greenstar, which is a public company. Oregon, obviously, we're in. California, my phone was just beeping. We're in. Ease carries them and others. The dab tabs are, a unique product. And I think from that technology, you're going to start seeing other technology being developed for it, some new vaporization technology, some other stuff that, ELO is working on as well.
Great. I got a couple questions from the audience. Can I just hit you up with them?
Sure.
We'll just do one by one. This is from Alexander Mueller. What about the Africa deal now? It's sure or not? And how many shares will be executed for the next months paying for the deals?
Well, the Africa deal, we announced shares and everything, I think in April. I think it's pretty much on track. Surprisingly, there wasn't what we call a retrade. A lot of deals have been retrading because of the setback in everyone's stock price. But here, I think we're pretty much good where we're at. We may have to put some more shares in for some interest carry over the time period, but nothing substantial. We gave you the computation on MDT. It's a 20-day VWAP. It's $4.5 million. So it's not a significant acquisition. It doesn't require a business acquisition report under securities laws. And we're trying to do what I call smaller acquisitions or laddering acquisitions, because that's where we play. We're not trying to do, massive acquisitions at this point. So that way we do little bite-sized things and slowly move things up. So you can easily compute that out. It's all there in our press releases, and it's pretty easy to do.
Okay, great. And the next question is from Jean Guy Turbo. Halo acquired dispensary Tract recently in Canada. What is the plan with them to sell products in Canada?
So it's less so for Canada than it is more for the United States, because in Canada, you don't have these massive queues and these massive lines that you have in like certain dispensaries in Nevada, or like as we just spoke about Neta in Massachusetts, and there are other dispensaries in the United States that are like mega stores and that have mega lines. So the whole concept, remember, of dispensary track is not a POS system, but more of peripheral products for dispensaries, to do brand extensions for dispensaries, to give them a virtual storefront, and that is the focus there with dispensary track. We still got a couple months of development there, And definitely, if we start looking at bringing on some of our own dispensaries as well, it'll be really cool. So it's all sort of part of a integrated plan that's coming together.
Very good. And this is from Sean. Halo refers to LLO Vapor as a sister company. Could you ask Kiran to elaborate on that relationship?
Sure. So we have some common shareholders, and we have a warrant to purchase a certain percentage of it. I forgot what it is exactly. But they're a non-280E company, Elo Vapor. So the point is that when we looked at all of this initially, and we said if we put them under our umbrella, it sort of gets confusing because we're plant touching and their technology. So we lease technology from them on an arm's length basis. Obviously, there's some what I call, there's some really tight knit trust between the two companies. So obviously in California, we have an exclusive right now. In Oregon, we released the exclusive because we figured a high tide would lift all boats to get more guys involved with the manufacturing. In Nevada, it's the same way, where we get more big manufacturers coming on. But in California, what we're doing is talking with other prominent concentrate makers to actually, use the technology, and we would fill for them. So it's more joint venturing. But yeah, that's what I mean when I say a sister company. I mean, we've worked with Michael, as, founders of Halo, and Michael is a founder of Elo. We've worked with them, since 2012, heading back to, or 2013, heading back to the golden days.
Wow. So you guys have been so busy. You got to be one of the most busiest guys in the sector. I see you traveling literally everywhere. Are you going to be at the Lyft conference in January here in Vancouver?
I may be there for sure. I think there's an investment banking conference I'm there for.
Nice.
And then I'll be at MJBiz for a couple of days. And then there's a big European conference in Madrid. What I do is I actually look at my schedule the day before, and I have my sort of bag packed. This is like a rare moment to actually be at my desk.
I bet.
Clearing out the email and paying the bills and all that good stuff, But no, things are really good right now in terms of opportunities. Opportunities are really sort of coming up. One other thing we're looking at is product extension right now. So, we have edibles, as we said in Oregon, we're now doing flower and pre-rolls. Andreas's goal is to sell 1 million pre-rolls in Oregon this year.
Wow.
Over the next 12 months.
That's great.
In California, we're looking at cultivation assets right now to start, and we're looking at dispensary assets. Africa, we're just heads down. We're no more acquisitions there. We're just focused on building out that, it's a massive site. It's a massive valley. It's part of a SEZ, Special Economic Zone. It's a big, big project. And I think that we want to keep within what I call this Oregon, Nevada, California, and Africa sort of context right now, and just build out what we have. And then what I'm saying is do bolt-on acquisitions of product or of parts of the vertical chain that we're not already in these states.
I have a few more questions here. How was the meeting with Bothello in Lesotho? Is it signed?
It's really, really close. It's, how do I say
People want an answer. They're trying to get an answer from you. Don't.
I'm on it all the time, right? But we're really close, and it's not like a normal RTO merger. It's not like a normal deal. So you're always coming up with something, right? But
of course,
we're really close.
No, I'm excited for it. I know you said that you believe it has the chance to be one of the biggest harvests anywhere in the world. So I can't even imagine.
Right.
And then
over the next year and a half for sure.
And to be able to do business
you gotta geometrically progress it. Right?
Yeah, and to be able to do business in Africa and then sell in Europe, where you're talking about euros, brilliant.
Yeah,
I think that model is absolutely brilliant. I have another question here, and it's actually a very good one that I think we need to talk about. Does Kiran think that Halo stock is lacking attention due to the exchanges that it is listed on? Because you're on a small exchange like the Neo exchange. Is that something that, are we looking to move up here in 2020?
Well, first of all, the one thing is the NEO is actually a big board, so it's TSE. So if you look at our disclosures, our MD&A, our financials, we can't use abbreviated financials. So you see all our disclosures and everything are really thick.
Okay.
So the NEO is a quarterly reporting exchange. So it's a senior exchange. The one thing about the NEO is we're on it. Columbia Care's on it, which is a really good company. CANNABIS, I think, is on it, and Jushi's on it. So we have good company. We're actually the smallest out of the bunch of the companies that are on it, the cannabis companies. The one thing I like about the NEO is, I don't know if any of you guys are in Toronto, but they just did a huge billboard campaign where I was one of the featured guys on it.
Wow.
So they put billboards all over the subway system there.
Nice.
And they do stuff like that basically the CSE wouldn't do, right? Or wouldn't do because they have so many companies. So part of it in my mind says that the NEO, it's not as well known as of an exchange as the CSE, but at the same time, there are a few, it's a yin and a yang, it's sort of like, we can go on the CSE, but then we're one of 130 cannabis stocks, or we can stay on the NEO and get some, special attention, so I don't know,
so
quandary, but
so you're going to stay there.
Active. We're liquid.
So you're planning on staying there?
For outdoor, because we have so much else on that to do a downlisting to the CSE or going to the CSE right now is, given everything else we're doing, Buffalo, MDT, whatever else, it would just be too much at this point. But we have good liquidity on the NEO. I mean, we're one of the more active cannabis stocks in terms of shares traded and volume. So it seems to be doing okay. And I got a lot of people sending me pictures of me all over the subway system in Toronto, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think about, I want to talk about Trulieve. Trulieve has kind of really stepped themselves and put themselves in a place where they have the highest adjusted operating income in the sector right now, outside of Scott's Miracle-Gro. They've got a very interesting model where they're not trying to be everything to everybody. They're just trying to focus on their core business. They're not expanding internationally. They're just focused on their core business. And because of it, they're kind of leading the pack as far as profitability or adjusted operating income. Do you think you're going to see more companies move in that direction? Because I think we've seen so many companies try this massive scale up, and there's obviously a lot of issues with money being spent now. Are you going to see more companies maybe in 2020 be more fiscally responsible and take on the model of Trulieve, which is more just focus on what we do. Let's not water down our business. Let's not get, overexposed, trying to get our hands involved in too many things and, have, losing crops here and losing crops there because we got crops all over the world like we've seen with companies like Canopy Growth, for example. Do you think that that's kind of the direction that you're going to see more companies go in 2020?
I believe so. And that's part of what we said in our financials is that we're focused on Oregon, we're focused on California, which is big, but we just got to carve out a niche in California. We don't want to be the biggest there. We just want to, as we've talked about, get to positive cash flow. And then Nevada, we've said that given the lawsuit with the state and the other 60 dispensaries not coming on, we've slowed that one down. To eliminate burn, and then Africa, and that's it. In terms of any acquisitions we do are targeting towards those spaces, right? Either towards California, towards Oregon, or towards something that would help us in Africa. But Africa pretty much is a true relief type play where it's just focused on one big grow and one export market.
And I think that's the way to go. And I love the fact that you're focused on those markets because I have to keep reminding people in Canada that California has the population of Canada in one state. So you don't really have to go anywhere else. I mean, a lot of these Canadian companies, they have to go international to compete because there just isn't the population in Canada that there is in America. So these companies have to go internationally to compete. They just have to if they want to be a global player, because they'll never have the same growth potential in Canada that the US companies have, just because of sheer population. We're talking 10x, right? 10x the population in America versus Canada.
Well, remember, California by itself would be the sixth or fifth largest GDP in the world.
Yeah.
Right? It's massive. And
you're in the right place.
in California is, you got to, again, with cash, you got to be careful, because remember, we are marijuana companies. And if you saw, True Relief just did that $60 million sort of emergency financing.
Bought deal? Was it bought deal financing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that huge one, right? That loan, senior secured loan deal they just did. And the reason they had to do it is because when you grow in marijuana, for every dollar you sell, at least with True Relief, because they go all the way back to the seed, they probably need $5 to $6 behind them.
Wow.
So for every million of growth, they need $6 million of working capital.
Wow.
And so where a lot of people you got to be really careful is with that working capital management.
That's very interesting. It's good to see that companies are really moving in the right direction. It's fantastic to see Halo Labs moving in the right direction. Thank you very much for being here today and bringing us the news. Once again, let's talk about it. Before we leave, what's the big breaking news once again, so everybody that's watching knows, with Halo Labs today, Kiran?
Well, the big news is that we're beginning that strategy that we spoke about vertically integrating in California. MDT is one of the first steps. UVI, we've announced, also is another step. We're looking at, moving more towards some dispensaries as well. We have a great relationship with LABS, and we're stitching together what I call a nice, cost-effective vertical play in California, where we're focused in our niche, where we're going to grow and try not to, do it in a prudent way where we don't have to go out and get, massive loans and other stuff, and grow a business very prudently. The other thing that you spoke about, which is really important, is the metric is now moving from revenue, at any cost, to a metric now of, prudent cash conservation, less cash burn, and more positive number. More positive numbers overall, as opposed to revenue at any cost, right? And that's something we've recognized over the last 6 months.
Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. Thank you for joining us on our show. Let's do it again soon. I know that we're literally a month away from Christmas, and it just feels like time is flying. It is crazy. I will be representing the media at the LIFT conference in Vancouver. If you're able to make it, I would love to see you there. Would love to interview you there and get a chance to give you some more, exposure in front of the community. And it'll be a 3-day event, and I believe it's one of the biggest in Canada. There will be, last year when I was there was at least 50 LPs there, like huge event.
Right. Yeah.
Massive event. So I think it's going to be a great event. I hope to see you there. If not, I'm sure we'll be touching base, and I will always make ourselves available to you. If you have any other breaking news or anything you want to talk about, please let us know. Love to get you back in front of the community. A lot of our investors are very excited about what's happening with Halo. Congratulations on all of your success so far, and we look forward to seeing your future objectives being met.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me. Really cool hat, by the way.
Yeah, it's Edison from Organogram.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. Awesome. All right. All the best.
Thank you so much. Have yourselves a great day. This is the CEO of Halo Labs, Kiran Sidhu, back from Africa, where he's hanging out with kings and queens, and he's back in America, back to business. And congratulations on your success, Kiran. And we look forward to speaking to you soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Rich.
Cheers.